Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It is 10:04, and I will call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. I will take the roll. Councilwoman Comer, I am here. Councilman Pelka?
Sorry. Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm here.
Good morning. Councilwoman Skyers-Thomas?
Present. Morning, everyone.
Good morning. Councilman Shirley? And Councilman Walton? Okay, as mentioned, we have a quorum. The first item of business, actually, I realized if with the committee's permission, I would like to amend the agenda just to approve the minutes of the September meeting. Was it September or October? I'm sorry. The October meeting. And if that is okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the year-to-date financial review through November. I want to thank Jennifer Stevens for providing the budget breakdown as of November 30th. Director Clay, I don't know if you or Jennifer were planning to kind of walk us through that.
We can if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you want to start, Jennifer? Any specific area that you want us to start with, or just walk you down the line?
I think just high level, sort of where we are in terms of what the budget is, what's remaining. And then when we get into the next item, you can get into a little bit more detail in terms of the request I had about detail around certain line items. But for now, if Jennifer, you just want to provide a high level overview of where we are financial snapshot wise, that would be great.
Sure. Sharing my screen. So as of November 30th, we have spent on personal services to date, if you look up top, it's $495,920.11. Other expenses for our contracts, agreements, supplies, etc. was at $365,025.14. So to date, we have spent $860,945.25 out of the $5.8 million budget that we have. We have worked on the Cone-Resnick contract. To continue it, we added $350,000. Also, in process, we are adding $749,714 to the OU new agreement. Also, transcription services is going up for next year due to possible lawsuits, the lottery. We changed that amount with a new agreement to $29,044. See, council marketing, grading, sponsorships will be $350,000. We don't see any spending yet on this, but it is a lot of work is in process with our outreach program manager. Is working hard on that, so you should see that to start getting traction and spending that down. The outreach and community conversations are community conversations, and to date we paid $104,548. Small balance left, $41,073. I should have said that backwards. That is the balance. So extra money is in there. We had corrected that because we're gonna also be doing other marketing work. And new community conversations and other DIAs. Very soon. See. Our catch-all line item is the community reinvestment program and workforce development at this time. We have 1,078,251.
I'm sorry, Jennifer, can I just stop you for a
Yes.
minute? Director Clay, if you could mute, because I think that the echo is coming because you're both
You have
off.
to mute.
Oh,
So-
I have
Okay,
to
maybe, no. that
Well,
was
if she-
me.
no. If she mutes, then we won't be able to hear her, but yeah, okay. Great. Sorry about that. Thank you.
So this is what we did, we amended this and made it very clear and have a pretty good strategic plan now with our contracts. And here's where we're at. We definitely we should spend this 1,078,251. If you have any questions, let me know.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just want to add just a couple more comments to some of the line items. So you will see that the line item 14, we did, can you leave your, yeah. So line item 14, where it's the co-investment applications, we added money and just
You're on mute, Director Clay. We can't hear you.
okay, that's what happens when you change your environment. I apologize.
No worries. Oh, and just a quick question. Is this part of the next agenda item, sort of where you're talking through the detail? Because we did have a separate agenda item to go through those.
Okay, yep. Then I'll wait because this
Okay.
will provide more detail.
Okay. Questions from my fellow committee members? Councilman Skyers Thomas, Councilman Pelka.
I think my questions all relate to the next budget item on the expenditure plan. So I'm going to hold on those, Madam Chair.
Okay, sounds good. I do have one question, and maybe it is also related, but based on it seems as though the numbers have changed in terms of the line items for the balance sheet from October to November. So I'm assuming that that will be addressed as well during Director Clay, during your presentation.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if no more questions on this particular line item, we will move forward to the budget expenditure plan. And I just want to, I guess, call out that I had made a request for I had some clarifying questions regarding the budget report when I saw it before. And so I had asked Director Clay if she would be prepared to sort of talk through the plan for expenditure for some of these line items where there hasn't been much movement. So Director Clay, I hand it over to you.
Okay. So to first address the increase on some of the line items, we needed to increase the Cone-Resnick application. So that would be line item 14 because of the anticipated lottery in 2024. So we needed to add money because our work with them for 2023 is over and it splits a calendar year and a fiscal year. So their contract is a calendar year, but we're operating in a fiscal year. And so you'll see an increase with that line item. The Cone-Resnick Workforce Development contract is ended. That expires on the 31st. We will not be using Cone-Resnick for workforce plan development because we have hired a workforce development program manager. Can you turn the volume down all the way? Thank you. So that contract has expired and we will spend out that 69,000. I believe those two invoices are in the works for that. The accelerator program, in anticipation of the lottery, We are working on an extension of a contract for OU to do another accelerator in 2024. In addition, we are working with them to create a pre-lottery education.
You're on mute again, Director Clay. Director Clay, you're on mute again. Can nobody hear me?
I can hear you, Madam Chair, and I
Okay.
can't hear the executive director.
Yeah, she's on mute, but I don't. Jennifer, can you hear me? I don't think they can hear me either.
That's
Okay.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to put in the chat, I guess. See if
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, you are
Okay.
now
mute.
we can.
You were trying
I
to
Missed
flag,
everything.
but I
muted
guess you couldn't
myself.
hear us. Okay.
Okay, sorry, but I muted myself by mistake. So back to the transcriptions plus, we've increased their contract to continue to provide certified minutes of meetings, as we are still involved in some lawsuits and EJBs coming back and forth. And then when we enter into the new lottery, there could possibly be some lawsuits there. So the Office of the Attorney General has asked us to have certified minutes available for them. As far as the marketing and the outreach information, so we will have a spending plan or a marketing spending plan by January 30th. So we are anticipating going to a couple of them, being involved with a few expos that are coming up, and mainly the pre-lottery education, all of the outreach around that in the various communities, and how we will handle those boot camps in advertising those boot camps to people, and the change in criteria for applying as a social equity applicant, which takes place, comes into effect on February 1st. Community conversations, we do have another round of conversations that will begin in mid-January. So you'll see some additional spending out of that line item. And the community reinvestment workforce is really the catch-all line item for us. And it is going to be recommended that whatever is left in there, that possibly the council itself, since it's in the council's budget, that the council might consider some special kind of program that it wants to embark on. Maybe it's a competition for a community reinvestment project that we create ourselves, so that people will apply to the council. And it should be a large scale project. It shouldn't be any kind of small scale project. So we're still kind of figuring out how we can present those ideas. Some council members have suggested that we might want to do like a business development, community business development competition where people can apply directly to us for $500,000 or 250,000. So it would be maybe probably no more than 5 projects that we would be able to manage as a staff. But again, it could be something else. So we'll be bringing some suggestions. And then the rest of the line items are just our common everyday office supplies, cell phones, and those things are being drawn down on. So that's where we are. The only other thing I wanted to, and on one of the questions that you had asked, is about our personnel. And so we have budgeted for 13 positions. Our staff attorney position, which is going to be replaced, is going to be replaced at a higher level. So we're looking at the level of a legal director, which would probably cause that position to have an increase in salary of about $60,000 possibly. Maybe not that high, maybe 30, $40,000. So what we will do is we'll adjust, and we probably will end up with 12 as opposed to 13.
Okay. Thank you. So I have a request and then a couple of follow-up questions. The request is, because there have been shifts in the amounts of the line items, I think it would be very helpful for this committee to have a spreadsheet similar to the one that's been presented, but with an additional column that shows what the original allotment was and then the change. Because I don't know, and maybe Councilman Pelka, this is a question that you can help answer, but I don't know if there is a process that has to be followed if money is going to be moved, or if the budget is just the budget and then there is autonomy in terms of moving funds from line items. I just want to make sure that we are compliant with state policy and procedure. Councilman Pelka, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, or
I'd ask my coworkers in budget about that. I know that personal services and other expenses categories, there are very clear distinctions to how those funds may be used. But in terms of lines within each of those two categories, I need to ask my coworkers in budget who live this every day and would know. So I'll make sure to get that, and I can return that information to you.
thanks. That
And
would be
through you,
that would be great.
through you, Madam Chair. So all of the adjustments that we are making and the increase in the contracts actually go to OPM for notification. And in the case of the Oaksterdam contract, OPM will need to approve the increase and the amended personal services agreement. And they would be made aware of the increases through the DECD's entering in the core system, which requires OPM's approval. But we will also double back and make sure that what we're doing is acceptable.
Okay. And I appreciate that. And I think, beyond beyond just the contractual line items. So for instance, the October report indicated that community reinvestment and workforce development would have $748,000. That line is now showing 1.1 million. And so that's why I'm asking for the added column so we can see the differentiation and then have a better understanding of sort of what the plan is, which sort of leads to, I guess, my other question. I think that, we're now almost halfway through the year. And so just wanting to know if there's some specificity around these line items and these expenditures. It's a lot of money. We're halfway through the year. A lot has not yet been expended. So I'm hoping that there's been, there's more texture and more context that can be provided around how these funds are going to be expended.
Yeah. So especially in the SEC marketing and branding, where there's a 350, that plan is just about finished. Our outreach coordinator and our legislative and communications program manager have been working over the last few weeks, and Arlene's only been here like 8 weeks. So they're working diligently on a plan for marketing and outreach, and again, focused on the lottery that is coming, and information on new criteria for the next lottery. So all of that is being worked up, and as soon as we have that finalized, we can share it with the committee.
And can you give me a timeline of when you anticipate that will be ready?
I hope we are done. I've asked them to give it to me no later than January 30th, and that's just considering the holidays, but I believe it's going to be done sooner. I'm actually meeting with them after this meeting to get an update.
Okay. So if we could, I think it would be helpful if we could have another finance committee meeting at the end of January, just so we can get this additional context, because I feel like we've kind of been looking for that extra detail for a while now. And again, for that meeting, if we could have that additional column, because I see also like technical assistance, there was a line item for $100,000 as of the end of October. I no longer see that line item. So it would just be helpful to know, where the money has been moved and what the thinking is around that movement. And then I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said will do.
Okay. And then the last question I have is around the legal director. It's my understanding that a legal director has to have folks reporting to them in order to have that title. And so I don't know if we're now looking at a different title for this position to replace Attorney Matrivi, or if there's been conversations around how that's going to work.
I've been working with HR and the governor's office on how we can get, so you are correct, a legal director has to have two folks, at least two folks reporting to them, and we don't have that structure. So we were trying to see if we could, because we're APO'd at DECD, if that had any effect. And so I've just been given last week some additional titles to consider that would fit our situation.
Okay, great.
But the pay itself is probably going to stay the same. It's just the title is going to change, but we definitely need to have a higher level person with more experience in that position. And nothing against Attorney Matreva. He did an excellent job for us.
Okay, great, thank you. Turning it over once again to my fellow council members to see if they have additional questions.
No, I don't, but just a quick comment. I do agree that that additional line to make the distinction between what has been expended and, you know, any increases or decreases will be really, really helpful. Because looking at it, especially being newer to the council, I have a little bit of a picture, but it's not completely clear to me the movement of the funds. So if it would be helpful to me, I'm certain it would be helpful to the larger council as well. So just in agreement, in agreement. And outside of that, I truly don't have many questions. Thank you, though.
Okay, and I think Jennifer has that, but this is what I asked her to present, and looking at it now and kind of thinking at it from your perspective, because I knew exactly where the money was going. So, but from your perspective, so we will, after this meeting, send that out to you and then go over it again with you in January. So if you have any questions, then.
Thank you, Director Play. Councilman Pelka, anything on your end?
I was wondering if you could, I noticed too about the reinvestment and the funding that's left, and so it's, could you just elaborate a bit? I heard a bit about the executive director's vision for creating a new reinvestment grant program. How does that align with the plans for the much larger reinvestment that's being contemplated? You have limited bandwidth, and I'm just trying to understand how to keep that, $35 million plan moving forward and adding in a 1 million option.
So the $35 million is going to be resourced out through grant makers and what have you to manage those funds. So we will have monitoring responsibilities there. It's just a thought right now. This will be brought to the reinvestment committee, that wherever we have monies left over, we're going to put them in the reinvestment if we don't need them in other places. So that might grow a little bit. It might not. We may have to take from there if something comes up that we are not aware of, or we have to add something to the Cone Resnick, or maybe something else to the accelerator line items. But it is going to be our recommendation that, because these funds are in the council's budget, that we come up with a manageable kind of program, maybe a special program that the council would manage. It could be a one-time. We don't know that we're going to have this money and this amount of money in this line item going forward. So this would be just kind of a special project, not something that we expect to continue to manage and have it ongoing unless the resources are there. And then we may decide, I don't know that we can take these funds and put them someplace else. So they're in our budget, and as long as that line item is there, as long as there's money, the council has to consider a way to spend it. So we can make it plan to make it a part of the social, the community reinvestment spending plan as a kind of a separate item.
Makes sense. I think if we look forward to discussions in the reinvestment subcommittee. I think one of the priorities I felt is to attach these reinvestment funds to existing funding infrastructure, federal or state or local, that can be expanded and then can, scale back once complete, and provide greater predictability for these funds so that the recipients of them can anticipate when they may or may not come available and therefore can plan accordingly. I think that would create a lot of opportunity for these funds to be built into longer term plans, quite different from plans that expand or contract rapidly. So that feels like something that the reinvestment subcommittee would need to take up. So I'm just sharing my point of view. I think especially the thought that on an annual basis, remaining funds would be plowed from the general fund appropriation into reinvestment is something novel that I hadn't heard of before, and I'm still processing. I appreciate you sharing that, and I'll bear that in mind when I talk to my coworkers to better understand how to, what communication is needed when budget lines are moved around. And I also agree that it would be very helpful. Looks like you had the information already, or the adjustments you make to your budget lines. And I think including that in part of the ongoing spreadsheets you receive will just be helpful because it does capture modifications you're making throughout the year based on needs as they come forward and in relation to your original budget. The piece that I in your update that the executive director gave on her update regarding the Social Equity Council marketing, branding, and sponsorship, I think we heard references to expos and other things. Just so that in case I didn't fully capture the update, would you mind just listing the plan to spend that fund down? It's not as large as the reinvestment line, but it's an appreciable portion, and we are at the halfway mark. So I was curious to ask about that.
So some of our marketing materials, giveaways, we already had in stock. We ordered them like a year ago, but we did not do any marketing or outreach at that time. So we've been using up those materials that we have at the various events that we're going to. So far we've participated in, I believe, 6 events. So we just recently participated in a Cannabis Chamber of Commerce annual event. We have participated with the Southern Connecticut Black Chamber of Commerce. We are planning for Exicon, which is a large cannabis expo or conference that happens in February of 2024 up at Mohegan Sun. There's another conference that will be coming up in Hartford in 2024. Through our outreach and through our grant making, and as we go out and we're meeting with groups, we're meeting with people, we're meeting with organizations, we will have information. So tablecloths and a backdrop and other things that we need to go out and to market ourselves. We're also looking at digital media to make sure that we have a really good handle on marketing our programs, our services to those folks who we know are hardest to reach in the DIAs. And it is all focused on DIAs and DIA residents and communities. So we have some things that we were ordering again in preparation for different expos or conferences that we'll be participating in, and then making sure that we have enough marketing information out there so that folks are completely aware of new criteria, the lottery, how to apply for it, how to get yourself ready for it through boot camps and other activities.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We're still collecting pricing and getting quotes for certain activities. So we do expect to spend a big chunk of that down before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you, Director Clay. I do want to also acknowledge that Councilman Medina is here with us, and while he is, to the best of my knowledge, not a member of this committee, did want to give him an opportunity to ask any questions he may have or provide any commentary if he has any.
Thank you to the chair. Yeah, I don't think I'm technically on this committee. Just wanted to reflect on in the future, especially as the marketing and communications plan comes together, being able to measure the budget allocated for marketing communications relative to goals and metrics and KPIs feels important for fully understanding the and evaluating the effectiveness of the marketing plan.
Thank you for that.
Great.
And Madam Chair, may I ask a question before we proceed on?
Please do.
As I'm listening to colleagues and Director Clay explaining, I'm wondering if there is a space that we capture a budget narrative so that all of this doesn't just have to live in my head for me to remember. Is there anywhere for us to capture that?
We can attach something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'd actually requested a narrative a few months back, just so we could have some, to Councilman Medina's point, have some context. I mean, if you come up with a number, or say it's the 350,000, like that has to be grounded in something. And even more importantly, it has to be connected to what your overall vision and objectives are for the year. So, as we get to the item around recommendations, that I would like to have as a recommendation to the full council to request that information.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else from my council colleagues? Anything else from the SEC team?
Right now.
Hearing none. Again, so recommendations to the full council for me would just be the additional column with a report, and if we could have that available for the full council to look at the next council meeting, as well as, to the extent possible, a budget narrative that sort of speaks to the goals of the council for this year. That would be extremely helpful. And I don't know if that needs to be a motion, but for the sake of process, I will ask for a motion to present that to the full council as a recommendation.
So move, Madam Chair.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. I do not see a for the good of the order, but I will ask if there is anything additional for the good of the order. And if not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for your time, SEC team. Jennifer, Director Clay, thank you both. Christina, Anna as well. And
Yeah.
we will not convene this committee before the end of the year. So happy holidays and happy new year to you all.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
again.
everyone.